My best friend wants to move to the most haunted town in America. It's also home to one of the most haunted artifacts in the entire world. I'm talking about Salem, Massachusetts, and the haunted Annabelle doll. I'll do another video about the real story of the Annabelle doll, so follow along for that. But let's talk about why I'm afraid to move to this town. My friend worked in the Salem Witches Museum. It wasn't an ideal place to work, but she needed the money. She was on her break at work when this all started. Her coworker came up to her, absolutely freaking out. Her sister had just gone into labor, so she had to leave, and my friend was there all alone. It was about 5:30 p.m. and they closed at 6:30 p.m. She finished up bundling the sage and vacuuming the workshop. She went ahead and she flipped over the sign so that it said closed. And the last thing that she was required to clean was the basement. Now the basement is where the actual museum part was. Each night they had to go through the entire exhibit and make sure there was no people left behind. And there'd been a few incidents where teens tried to stay in overnight. The first exhibit was a line of little fake trees and figurines of girls dancing by a fire. A voice boomed out of the speakers as she walked by. In the spring of 1692, a group of local girls in Salem, Massachusetts, started something that would be talked about for many years to come. She noticed there was some trash on the ground, and as she was sweeping it up, the speakers started to break out. They weren't exactly saying what they were supposed to. She scolded herself for forgetting to call the maintenance guy to fix it, Tom. She'd have to do that when her shift ended. Something I forgot to mention is once you walk into the exhibit, the door behind you locks. And that was added because during the middle of tours, a lot of people were trying to sneak in to catch up or so that they didn't have to wait before the next tour. And Tom installed that so that they wouldn't have to deal with that anymore. But when she got to the last part of the exhibit, I noticed the mannequin's head was twisted all the way around. Now this happened to be one of the scenes where the witch was frozen in terror, so her face looked horrifying already. But it wasn't normally turned all the way around like that. It caught her off guard, to say the least. But of course it only gets worse from here. At first she was frozen in fear, but she decided she had to keep on moving. She literally couldn't go backwards. She actually considered running to the end, but something inside her was telling her that if she did, whatever was there would chase her. Now the next scene was a little bit less creepy. It would host a woman in a rocking chair. But when she turned the corner, there was no one in the chair. Her heart started pounding. One of the mannequins was literally missing. She kept on moving. The next part of the exhibit should be almost pitch black. And it was. She just had to make it through one more exhibit and then she would be at the exit. This time when she turned the corner to the next part of the exhibit, the animatronics were already moving on their own. Now this should not happen. You have to press a button to turn on these animatronics. She had reached the end. She didn't wait to see what was going to happen next. She pushed through the exit door and standing in the middle of the gift shop was the missing mannequin. She never returned to that job, and I wouldn't either.